So you got 3 cameras. Like, it's easy for me to engage with that one, and then I forget these other 2 are here, and then you're here, and it's kind of weird, but.
Howdy folks, Brian Cusco here, and today we're going to sit down with Adam of Proper Royals. We're going to talk with Adam about the awesome guitar that he brought and created, the whole backstory of this crazy cool guitar that went for a bunch of money at USARK auction, and also a little bit about Adam and what he's doing here in this world that we live in, reptile world. You're watching the Redline Report.
Get Robin to buy. Are we live? Are we recording?
I would never.
Never. We are, right? No. You should get Robin. You should be like, Robin, you know what we need. I can't do this without.
The thingy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How obnoxious would that be? It would be right up his alley, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it'd also be nice because, those things aren't just, they have the audio clip clack, but there's also on the front, they got the color.
You can put the info, yeah.
Info, and then also the color.
That's
matching.
right, yeah. Which I actually didn't, you probably know him, or know who I'm talking about, at least Brandon Nixon. He did a Instagram post about his color cards. He put the color cards in the picture with the snakes to explain that. And I was like, I'm not going to do it, but that's pretty neat. Like,
I do that.
Yeah, it's cool to know that he does it.
Yeah. It's helpful for getting accurate colors so you can be represented, representing what.
Yeah, I do have to say I've never understood the people that. Why would you put a picture that's not representative of your snake? I realize we're not all using color cards, but try and make it look like it does.
Yeah, which is easier said than done sometimes because cameras are not the easiest to figure out for, just your random person using a cell phone or whatever.
Right.
But somebody I've heard brought up a very good point, which is, if your picture doesn't look as good as the snake does, that's not a bad thing either.
It's true.
Necessarily, but especially for the person that's getting that snake, they get it and they're like, oh, wow, it looks so much better.
Yeah, or over-deliver, excuse me. Yeah,
yeah over-deliver, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make sure you stay about like a fist length from that mic.
All right.
It's very quiet.
All right, so I didn't know if I was doing the lean in.
Leaning in is perfect for that.
Lean in is good. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
How long have you been doing reptile hobby industry stuff?
So with any kind of purpose, it's been April of 2020, so just 4 years. Why I say with any kind of purpose, in college I had a bunch of ball pythons, I had corn snakes, I had leopard geckos, I had a big arowana and a big tank in my apartment bedroom. So I loved them, and then you leave college, okay, sell them back to the pet store, and then life goes on, you get a career and all that stuff, and then. It's like the same story. I have anybody with it that's a dad. They're like, yeah, my son got a bearded dragon, and I went to a reptile convention, and then I see pieds that were $50,000 the last time I owned a ball python. I'm like, it was crazy, and that was it. That's how that story goes.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you're a professional musician.
Yeah. So I play in. I've always played on the Irish pub scene. So. Everything from traditional to the Pogues to Van Morrison to more contemporary Flog and Molly, Dropkick Murphy stuff. We've gotten open for Flog and Molly a few times.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's 99% of the time it's in the neighborhood pub, and then 1% of the time it's, hey, there's a festival coming through town, or there's somebody that needs an opener, or I don't know, the guy's band that I play in, his name is Spade McQuaid, and Steve Earle brought he and his band from Belfast in the early 90s. So Steve Earle was touring there, they were opening, and he was like, MCA didn't have an Irish artist, and that's when U2 had just exploded, the Cranberries were just hitting, Sinead O'Connor, the Coors, the Proclaimers from Scotland, and MCA didn't have a British Isles non-England band, and Steve Earle was like, hey, I found your boys, and they were, and 6 weeks after the tour ended, they were in Nashville.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've had cool moments of Steve Earle comes to town, we go hang out with him, and then this guy opened for Steve, and then we opened for him later, and so just some really cool people that I've crossed paths with without having to do the whole live on a tour bus kind of thing, which is frankly nice. A van with 5 dudes is not that fun.
I know.
Yeah, right? It sounds so great when you're like 19. You're like, that's the life. It is not the life.
We had some fun moments like that. You know,
Of course.
there was some good times, but it was definitely some times where it was like, gosh, I want off of this van.
Yeah.
Out of the van. Get out. It's like you roll up this fight, you're like, oh, get me out of here.
So it's not reptile related, but so there's a band out of Montreal called the Peelers. They're great, like Irish punk rock band, and they come to Florida to tour in the winter times usually. And they call me and say, hey, Adam, you want the opening slot? I need an opener. Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, I got my Subaru. I'll just tell me the gigs. I'll be there. I said, hey, I got space for somebody. After I'd met up, like 3 people jumped out of the van. They're like, I'll take it. And I'm like, you guys pick. Like, it was like they wanted nothing but to get out of the van as fast as possible. Because they'd been from Montreal down. That was in St. Augustine. So Montreal to St. Augustine, they'd been in the van.
Yeah, I've been there. It's good times. Good times. The guitar that you brought to Daytona, I think that's when we first met, was at Daytona.
Yeah.
And you brought that awesome guitar that had been around the way, signed. I mean, you built that guitar, right?
Yeah, so I got to give like really strong credit where it's due. Jeremy Bod at Bod's Exotic Reptiles, he called me out of the blue, and he was kind of a mentor to me especially when I first got to Florida, and I was starting out. He says, I need a guitar. And I said, you play guitar? And I didn't know that. And he goes, no. I said, what are you doing? And he told me the story that he wanted to ship it around and get as many signatures from a lot of the historical players of our industry, especially while some of those guys are still around. I mean, the clock's ticking for all of us. And it was really funny because he doesn't know much about guitars. He's like, I need to get it to a lot of people fast. I was like, all right, you need a Fender type. They're disassemblable, and ship it out in 5 different parts to different people, get all the signatures. So the pick guard went somewhere, the body went somewhere, the neck went somewhere, and then we reset it back up. And it actually was donated the year before I met you. And Eugene Bissett bought it, and he felt like it didn't go for what it should go for. So Eugene obviously is a board member of US Arc Florida. And it turns out Daniel, their media director, is a ripping guitarist.
Yeah.
And Daniel gets a hold of the guitar, and he goes, this is a pretty nice guitar. And he goes, well, this guy Adam built it, and Jeremy, got all these signatures. And Eugene, like he's like a terrier, man. He gets hold of something, it's going to get done kind of thing.
For sure.
And so he's like, well, you need, I won't say the exact words, just you guys need to sell this guitar. You got your platform. He's the media guy. You got US Arc Florida behind you. Now you need to get this thing for what it's worth. And then that was the year that I met you. And Daniel played it at
The auction.
At the auction. And full transparency, the memories aren't 100% clear, but I think that guitar went for about somewhere between 14 and 17,000. I think that night, because I think it was bid on, donated, and then bought again. And I think Freedom Breeder has it right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see it sitting there in the shop when I go in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know the plan there is to have Lindy sign it, and then maybe I'll sign it too, because I'll play on it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they're going to redonate it at Daytona.
At Daytona this year.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I might have to fly down then, man. The story up to that point of that guitar. And I told this on my show before, but so my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and that progressed over 10 years. Thankfully, we got 10 years with her. But she was entering hospice care, and I was her primary caregiver, and I was losing it. I was absolutely losing my mind. And I found that guitar on the local Craigslist down in Miami, and I was like, what makes me feel really good sometimes is buying a guitar. And so I went and I bought that guitar, and it looked cool, and it was terrible. It was junk. So I stripped it all the way down to just the body. So the body's a Fender body. The neck is a Warmoth neck. Then I put the finish on the neck, did all the finish, the setup work, Fralin pickups in it. And then I did all the wiring and everything. And then that was my main stage guitar for 4 or 5 years. And at the end of the day, I really love Gibsons, man. I'm a Gibson guy, and I was a Fender Telecaster is the model on that one. And so when Jeremy called me, so it had just been sitting there, and like it was special to me, but it was like it was one of those, when you put a price on a snake that you don't really want to sell it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that was kind of how that guitar had been. And when Jeremy called me and told me what he wanted to do with it, I was like, that's the one. That makes sense. I don't want this just to be like sitting in somebody's closet. If it's going to sit in a closet, it'll sit in my closet. And then I was like, that's what we got to do. So we made a deal, and Jeremy got the guitar and got that rolling.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I like it. I love stories like that. I love that it's going to find its way back out there and just keep going around. It's not just going to sit in a closet somewhere.
Yeah. Have you played it?
I played it, I think, that night when they
did
won
you?
it in the
Yeah.
guitar. Yeah,
okay.
Played on it a little bit there.
Yeah.
I haven't played. What I'm going to do next time, I'm actually going up to Freedom Breeder soon again. I go there often.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll bring my amp.
Yeah.
And I'll play it a little bit. And
Cool.
kind of build it up for the
There you
Daytona
go.
thing. And yeah.
What I really am proud of with that, like a lot of times, like guitars at auctions, like you're a musician, like you're like, that's a terrible guitar. It looks cool, it's fine, but it's not like you can't take that guitar on stage. That one you can, man. Like you wouldn't, because you're gonna wear off the the signatures and that. But it's a pro's guitar, man. Like even down like the frets on it are stainless steel. They'll never wear out. You never have to redo them. The tuners on it are Grover tuners, like top of the line. Like that's a legitimate rock and roll guitar, man. So it's cool. I'm real proud of that guitar.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, dude. I love it. I love the story. I love everything about it. I mean, we could talk music stuff this whole time, and I'd be totally fine with that.
Wherever it goes, man.
Wouldn't be a problem for me.
Yeah.
But what? So you got your show. You got the proper. You got the coffee show.
Yes, I do 2 different shows. Tuesday nights, Proper Royals Live, and that's like really like super focused business, industry, and the animals and the people in it. And I love it. And what I found was that there was a little bit of space for like, you don't have to be so rigid. You don't have to stay like so on topic, Adam. And I was trying to figure out how to have like a sort of like a hangout show, but I didn't want it to be, and I hate saying this, but it's kind of true. One of my first inspirations for doing my show at the time was that it seemed like there was like, it's just dudes hanging out and they were like high or drunk or something. I'm like, this is not a good representation. I was like, there's a lane for something a little more focused, a little more professional. But then I was like, there's a space for hanging out. And I was like, I don't want to just do like another like 2 dudes just hanging out. And then I was like, we all have the moment, like probably family dinners or new neighbor moves in. Oh, what do you do, Brian? Oh, you have snakes. If that goes cool, then they're like, well, what about this? How do you do that? Oh, those genes and this and that. And I was like, the whole theme of the show is one dude with reptiles and one dude without reptiles. So it's an old buddy named Joe, and he's super smart, inquisitive, just has a really kind, curious way about him, and he's smart enough to have a really good conversation about almost anything. So the theme is the reptile guy and the non-reptile guy, and we just have conversations over coffee on that's Thursday mornings. We do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
it's cool, man. I like it.
So it's been fun. Getting that one to have momentum is a little bit hard. It's totally experimental. So like some of the episodes were like, man, that was killer, and then some of them were like, so even on the plane today, I was texting with him. I was like, what if we built in like 3 structural parts and then leave it open from there? Because I mean, look at your setup. You can't just wing it. Like if you want to be taken seriously, you got to put the work in, and you got to do it right, and you got to figure out what works. And if something's not working, you got to tweak it. So it's always like, all right, that was cool, but how do we take it a little bit more cool?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. That's kind of what doing the Redline Report thing was kind of about that. And because I actually hadn't done any sit-down interviews for a hot minute there, like probably almost a year.
Yeah.
I had stopped doing them, and I was like, I want to bring it back. I miss doing that.
Yeah,
Miss having those moments and just getting people's stories out there. Like stories like about the guitar, and just like have that stuff saved and have it where people can go check it out and hear about the backstories. And
yeah, it's way better too than just like morph gene, morph combo, morph.
I'd like to at some point. I think a dream for this is at some point to have like a spot where I could bring people in and it'd be like a studio setup and just like nice lounge chairs and just chill and do it. I mean, at the show, the reason I do them at the shows is because it's just practical. You know,
Right.
you got everybody in one spot. You can
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I like to do them in person. So that was a hard thing for me during COVID. I started doing some over the internet and stuff, and people do a great job. I know lots of there's so many different shows out there that people do that, and it works really well.
Yeah.
And they do a good job with it. For me, I'm trying to engage with the person across the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't do it.
It's hard. It took practice, and I know you know, but so you got 3 cameras, it's easy for me to engage with that one, and then I forget these other 2 are here, and then you're here, and it's kind of weird, but it's even, to your point, it's even weirder when there's nobody right there, and you're still trying to engage with them, keep it energetic, and from interviews, some of them, you're pulling the person along, and other ones you're like, okay, leave a little space for me. Okay, all right, dance with me here. And you never really know because, of people, and we've hung out a little bit, but 30 minutes in our lives maybe kind of thing. So you don't really know. But yeah, so 52 weeks a year, I'm like, all right, let's roll the dice tonight, see how it goes, you know?
That was the part where it was really just my shortcut. I found it very hard to do the dance, through the screen. I couldn't do it. And I mostly had people on that I did know for that reason. We've hung out, we've spent time talking. It's like, okay, I can have this person on. But then that didn't leave a lot of room and I did have people I didn't know too, but I was always just we've never even shook hands before. All credit or big props to people that can do that through the screen.
It's hard though. And knock on wood, I've never really had a bad guest. I think I'm so thankful for everybody that's come on. There's been a couple shows that were just if you ever go on a podcast, don't bring an agenda. If you have a couple points you want to get out, fine, but don't write an hour and a half agenda or start your own podcast if you want to do that, right? And the thing is, again, I'm so thankful for everybody that's come on the show. All it is they're so excited and they're thankful. If they've put the work into writing an agenda for an hour, it can annoy me. But honestly, that's just how passionate they are and how into what they're doing. So I have to value that too. So it's real, there's a little bit of a trust fall part with it. But it's gone well, man. It's gone well. And I try and – there's always the old birds of a feather. If people have certain, ulterior motives, they don't come to my show. That's not – my show's not the place for it. So thankfully, that's kind of worked out well for me too. We'll see. There's always next Tuesday.
What kind of ulterior motives would somebody have?
Oh no, so there's corners of our industry that can be pretty dramatic or underhanded, or somebody wants to say something about somebody else.
Gotcha.
I haven't run into any of that, and frankly, I wouldn't put up with it. At the end of the day, I can click the little button and they're off.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, that's the one side that I look into some of it sometimes, but my big thing whenever something like that comes up is all right, how can we solve this? How can we make this be done and move forward together? Yeah, better.
If they come with good intentions, I'm all for that conversation.
Yeah.
If they come with bad intentions, don't do that.
I see the allure sometimes of folks wanting to because it does grab attention.
Yeah.
There's people are whoa, what's this trash garbage pile burning over here?
Mm-hmm. Right.
See what that looks
like.
Yeah. But ultimately it doesn't do well for anybody.
No.
It makes it look like we're in some kind of trash burning pile, which we're not.
No.
For the most part, it's going really well, I think, for most people.
Well, and I'm excited because I'm close to, this is my goal, to be my primary source of income, and it's about 90% of the way there right now. So I just can't abide by wanting to do anything that'll undermine our industry and the amazing parts of it. Yeah. So which by the way, did you guys get the table cover printed for the show?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I didn't.
Yeah, somebody did. Yeah.
But I'm pretty stoked about it. It looks really nice.
Yeah, and this is I figured they would just be we had one, an overlay, just drop it. This is the thing, man.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I kind of am wishing that I have something like this all the time.
Well, do you have the shirt all the time now? I mean,
that.
I gotta say, it's gonna be even nicer once it's washed once and it really kind of
Totally
yeah.
fits in there.
There you go, man.
I like it though.
I appreciate it, man. That's cool.
Yeah, bro. Well, what's the future looking like for you? You said you're 90% of the way there. Are you talking about like with snakes?
Yeah, well, it's kind of neat, and you're a great example, and actually someone I've looked up to, like the whole Proper Royals brand. So I would love for snakes to be the thing, but you almost have to go in debt to make snakes the thing. Like if you spend $100,000, you could probably make snakes the thing, or you got to put in the time, but then you don't have your $100,000, that's a problem for me. So I'm not going to do that path. So the whole brand, the show, the marketing, the advertisers, which I'm ultra thankful for. I mean, Redline's been amazing to me. So all of that together. So primarily snakes, rodents, got to get those in the mix too, which I swore for years I would never, ever. But all of it together, yeah. So it's about 90% of the way there. So hopefully this year, and that's without the hatchlings having come yet. So I things are in good shape. This year with the hatchlings should be that kind of final, like, all right, go do this. Like focus on it and put the other worries out of your mind. Like you can do this kind of thing.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's sweet, dude.
It's not. I don't know if I sounded confident then. There's. I just put it this way. I just did a video yesterday for the Patreon about the mental swings and literally the physical manifestations I feel of anxiety some days, where like I'll have the tunnel vision and the headache and like literally like, all right, Adam, let's go through the things that are worrying you and let's figure out why, if they're really worth worrying over or not, and if they are, what are you going to do about them, kind of thing. So there's that part of it too. The shows are a blast. Doing the interviews are fun. Hanging out with Robin is great. There's those mornings of panic where you're like, you had a perfectly good career. There was a paycheck there. Came every 2 weeks. Benefits, vacation, that was there. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, something to be said. There's hard work to be done. You know, to be able to follow and do the things that you love to do and have those things support you. There's a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. Takes a lot of sacrifice. People will think that they want to do it or have this. I wish I could do that. And it's like, you can. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sacrifice and there's a lot of chances you're taking on yourself.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to be willing to step in, and you're going to have those moments of like, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing?
Right.
Why did those moments are going to come.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, at least I can say right now, it fluctuates from time to time, but
Sure.
It's worth it.
Yeah, I think so. And thank you. I appreciate the encouragement. And I would say the same to anybody, because not that anybody should just walk away from good stuff, but finding that fulfillment, we only get one shot at this life. And to one degree or another, the clock's ticking on all of us. Hopefully it's farther out than, tomorrow, but the clock's ticking. So make the best of it. It's a little harder to say when you got a family, like, wife, a son, a house, a home, people that rely on you, and I know you're in that boat as well. On the other hand, at that point in life, we tend to have more resources than when I was 21 and had nothing in the bank and no fallback. So it's kind of a weird balance. But yeah, here I am, and life is pretty good, man. Life is pretty fun, and it's cool to. I don't know why. Everybody's got their thing. I love figuring out business. I love figuring out what are the little things here? What's the opportunity here? What's something that nobody else is doing that I could take a shot at and find that one little point of differentiation that will make Proper Royals different from how many vendors we got here? Yeah, 150 vendors. Okay, like, I know it's the famous Chris Eaton question: why should somebody buy something from me? It needs, you got to answer. If you can't answer that, it's a little bit of a challenge. You got to figure that out. So, constantly working through that and thinking that way. I really enjoy that part of it, and the media part of it was never really part of the plan. I thought the only way to make any money on the media part was, get a whole bunch of clicks, which is there's no money in clicks, man. There's no.
Unless you're getting millions of them.
Where did I share it? I did a media episode actually last Tuesday. So the latest round of Instagram Reel bonus, I was like, yeah, boy, I'm gonna get this one. I got my greatest hits. I'm ready. I'm gonna re-upload them. So 1.15 million views. $42, baby, $42.
Oh, okay, I don't know anything about Instagram, but YouTube would do you a little bit more solid on.
They would do you more solid
Yeah.
on it, absolutely. And there was a time I was doing better, relatively. I was doing better on YouTube, but the amount of time that it took from my day to put out the quality that made it pay knocked it right back down. I was putting more time into that than customers and selling snakes. Which, a pretty basic Enchi Pied is going to bring in more money than a month of YouTube was bringing in for me.
Yeah,
and you have a much farther reach than I do. So for me,
even for me, I think that would also hold not quite as, I mean, close, I guess, but the ad revenue on YouTube videos is not like something it's volatile, first of all, and then secondly, it's about the brand. It's about working with companies. It's working with doing brand deals with companies.
Absolutely,
that's where it's at.
And I think it's obvious, or it should be obvious to people, but it's really about how you can bring value to those brands. Like that was the other aha moment. It wasn't, ooh, I'm somebody with a YouTube show. No, it's cultivating those relationships and finding out about their business and what works and how you can bring value. There are people that I've said, no thanks, I don't think I'm the guy that can bring any value to you. And ultimately, those are the ones that are the longest lasting and pay the most. And really the pay usually comes in longevity rather than one paycheck,
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed that part of it and brand relationships. So my background is food and beverage, resorts, and hospitality. I never thought about it when we were making Kettle One Vodka our house brand for the PGA Tour. That's a brand relationship. When I was making Cool, our uniform brand at the last resort that I worked at in North Carolina, those are brand relationships, and I found that transferred really well. If you can align who your brand is with another brand that you can bring value to, you have a built-in sort of shared values, built-in, maybe not the same mission statement, but sort of the same bedrock of beliefs. The matches are really, really great. So those become strong relationships, and that's been a surprise to me. When I told my wife I wanted to buy breeder ball pythons, I never thought I'd be having conversations like that around this industry. So those things have been. All of that together has been really fulfilling. That's what the future looks like. I'd like to be known for my snakes, but it's going to take a little while for that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, people want to follow along with what you're doing. Where can they go to do that?
I'm Proper Royals everywhere, so it's a kind of a weird name and on purpose, so that's why. But Instagram and YouTube are the ones that get the most attention, but there is a Patreon if they want to check that out. And there is also Facebook, which, contrary to popular belief, that's not dead. It's a viable market, and it's a good place to sell certain animals. And everybody that doesn't want to sell there, thank you, because I will take it. That's doing well. And then most of the shows on the Midwest circuit, from Minnesota's home base now, so Tinley, and then Wisconsin and Iowa shows. I'll do almost any show in those states, about 26 a year. So
Okay.
I'm out and about, certainly able to be found.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well,
Thank
hey,
you
man.
very, very much for having me.
Yeah,
I've
bro,
looked
thanks.
forward to this. That'll be fun. You got to come. You got to come do a Tuesday night show so we could dive into your world of media, snakes, family, music, vans,
Absolutely.
dudes, all that stuff.
Absolutely, man.
All right. Cool. Thanks so much, Brian. That's
thank you,
awesome,
bro.
man.
Right on, dude.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Make sure you go check out Adam on all his social media stuff and follow along with what he's doing there with his show. And, we'll see you right back here next week on the Redline Report with a new guest. Hope to see you then. Y'all take care. Head first into curve. curbs or
Oh yeah,
hit by cars and flying across highways, and just like
man.
somehow bones did not break. I
Yeah.
don't know why. Just a round of applause to get us started.
Yeah, I just all the levels, nothing peaked. It's good. Do we just?
I'm sure something peaked. I guarantee something peaked actually. But the thing is,